This is Beyond the Uniform with TJ Brassil.
Welcome into another episode of Beyond the Uniform. I'm your host, TJ Brassil, and I'm joined today by a man that puts a whole new meaning into the phrase, a hop, skip, and a jump. Really one of the greatest triple jumpers to ever walk the face of the planet, Christian Taylor. Christian, thank you for joining the show, man.
Thanks so much for that intro, TJ. And to be honest, I'm excited to just talk with you and just share a bit about me beyond the uniform. I think that's a great name, a catchy name, but a great opportunity also. So thank you for this.
Of course, absolutely. Now, you can just kind of sit back and relax for a second, and revel in the glory for a hot minute, because I want to explain to everyone who might not fully grasp why you're one of the most dominant to ever do the triple jump. I want to just list off some of these accomplishments in the triple jump. So we got American record holder, 2-time Olympic gold medalist, 4-time world champion, the only 4-time world champion in history, reigning Olympic and world champion, 7-time Diamond League champion, which is the world circuit for track and field, and we'll get into more of that a little bit later. You own the second best jump of all time. Mind you, it's only 8 centimeters off of the world record, so we're closing in there. And if you're to win gold in Tokyo, you'll be the second person ever to win 3 triple jump Olympic gold medals, following only the Soviet Union's Viktor Sanyev. So, I mean, you know what you've done, obviously, but when you hear all that and you kind of sit back and look at your career, what moment or memory really stands out to you?
Yeah, I mean, to hit on the first part, I really don't sit back, because I think when people look back and people reflect, and you can either get complacent or you can be hard on yourself. As you know, athletes are probably the hardest on themselves. You can get critiques from coaches and feedback from family, but no one's going to be harder on you than you. And so I figure, you know what, when I retire, when I put my uniform off and take my spikes off, then I can look back and be like, wow, that was good. But right now it's just I just keep pressing. And as you said, I'm 8 centimeters short of the world record now. So this is what drives you. This is what keeps you hungry, and that is now what keeps you going day in and day out.
So, I mean, with triple jump, there's so many. One thing that I've always thought of is, I mean, you're going down the runway full speed and launching off the board, and then you got 2 more jumps. So there's a lot of pounding on your knees. How do you manage taking care of your knees to have such a long and successful career as you've had?
A team, really. I cannot, it's not an understatement. When I was in college, I had phenomenal therapists, great, GAs that were there, and even friends to this day, that I can talk to and say, hey, I'm having knee trouble, I'm having shin splints, what can I do differently, And so keeping good connections with them. And so I definitely give them a lot of love, because they helped me through running relays, through jumps, all that stuff. But then just to be really specific to the triple jump, it is a team effort. So I have, a coach that is tailoring the training, that we're not always pounding on the track, but we're doing stuff on the turf, we're doing stuff on the sand, we're doing stuff to mix it up, but also to take away from that impact. And then in having, I partner with Stretch Lab, and so I'm getting stretched twice a week with different spas, and because I like that kind of therapy, but also having a good full-time on the track therapist also. So if I'm cramping, or if I have a knot someplace, that he can just go put his elbow in, and I can get back to my training. So it is really a team effort and a continuous effort.
Now, back in, I believe it was 2015, you actually altered which foot you jump off of due to knee pain. So,
Right.
I mean, for people to put that in context, that's kind of asking Steph Curry, hey, you're really good, but let's start shooting with the left hand, but also still be as dominant as you are. What was that transition like?
Yeah, so it was very difficult, because as you referenced, I was at the top of my game. I was world and Olympic champ just coming out of college. I was very successful in college. So it was why would I change it? But then it came to the point where the injuries were too much, and the maintenance, I was just doing enough to maintain a career, but I wasn't able to thrive. And my coach and I just said, let's erase the board and start over. It was very difficult, actually, more mental toughness than physical. There was the issues we had on the physical side, but mentally just telling myself, just stick with it. You're right there. And so it was difficult, but yeah, we found a way to get it done.
How long did that transition, if not just physically, but also mentally, like really take for you to kind of get comfortable and get in the groove?
A solid year. I cannot say less than that. Could be 14 months or something like this. But it took, I would say, a solid year for me to just be able to commit. And as I said, I could have been physically at the point where I was ready to jump, but it was just the mental side of saying, this is now my new leg. This is now the way I jump, and I can still be the best of the world at it. I didn't want to just go and compete and just be in the mix. When you're at the top, it's like this is now the new bar. This is now the new level. So I just thought, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it to the best of my ability, and hopefully, get back to the gold medal and surpass now 18 meters, get to the 59, 60 feet range.
Now, you collegiately jumped at the University of Florida, and
Of course.
University of Florida had there you go, and they have a amazing history of jumpers, long triple jumpers. I mean, to name a few, you, Will Clay, Marquise Dendy, like guys like
Omar
that.
Craddock. Yeah.
Exactly. And so, like, what is it about that university and that program that just breeds so many amazing jumpers?
Yeah, this is a cool fight that I have with Grant all the time. I believe we are jumps you, and he will say hurdles you, and the cool thing is, I mean, of course, Karan can jump in that also. Like we've had so much depth in different areas. So whether sprints you, jumps you, hurdles you, but to be honest, it's just the recruiting process. Like we and the coaches just recruit the top athletes, and having and training in this atmosphere day in day out. You just have to rise to the occasion, because the culture there is that we're there to make, like, we want to win a team title, but we also want to just like produce. We know that we have to contribute like our own stuff to produce the best out of yourself. We ask for the best out of yourself, and so you're training at a very high level. And I mean, to think I was training with Will Clay and Omar Craddock, the top 5 jumpers in the world. Like like we were battling every single day, and so when I went to NCAA's, for me, I didn't have the stress of, would I be able to perform? Would I be able to? No, I know that I just had to beat those 2 guys that I'm working with every single day, and so I think that does give you a little competitive edge, but it's just, for me, it's just culture. We come in and we say, guys, we have a mission. We're going to finish the mission and we're going to do it together. When your brother or sister is struggling, pick them up, because we're all working towards the same goal.
Now, one of the people that I was talking about was Will Clay. And I mean, he's really been like not just in the US, but worldwide, like one of the top competitors for that you're going against, like every
Absolutely.
time. You guys have been teammates since college. Like, what has that dynamic been like competing against each other for so long?
It's, for me, it's been a dream come true, because like you you I believe a lot of people fear the unknown, and for me, I respect what I know. Like, so I don't have to worry about Will, because it's like we know each other. He
Mhm.
knows my strengths, he knows my weaknesses. I know his strengths, I know his weaknesses. But I want to highlight like respect. We have respect knowing that like whoever gets the last jump is most likely going to win it. Because it's like we practice that all the time. We have that mentality. Put yourself in the position for the final, like, to get that last jump, to get that adrenaline, to get the crowd into it. So I think that's such a unique relationship we have, because we know each other. There's not a lot of unknown factors. We know what we bring. We know our strengths. We know our weaknesses, and we really obviously like work towards those. But for me, I think it's such a blessing, because I do have a lot of comfort with that also, and I have a lot of peace. When he's the best man on that day, I can really hold my head high, because I'm like, I got beat by one of the top jumpers ever, not just in the world, but one of the top jumpers ever. And to know that actually we are friends, that we are training partners, and now competitors. For me, it's just coming full circle. It's just been amazing.
And I mean, having that, we're knowing each other for so long and having that dynamic, like, what's that interaction with you guys when it comes to competition? Like, how do you guys interact with each other during the meets, if you do at all?
Oh yeah. Again, because we know each other so well, we know our triggers. So we know what to say to really get under each other's skin. And then that's when you see those 18-meter marks. That's when you
Mhm.
see the back and forth, because we know if one person jumps, the mark is one thing, but we know exactly what to say to really like make the other person like step up. You know, and I think for me, I love that. I love that like we can be showmen. I love that we can be entertainers. I love that we can be brothers. But you know, ultimately, I love that we are just pushing each other every single day to get the best out of each other.
Now, in 2019, you competed at a meet at Percy Beard Track at University of Florida.
Yeah.
And what struck me was that that was the first time that you'd actually triple jumped at your home stadium. Like you'd competed there, but you'd never triple jumped. So first off, like, how was it that you'd competed there, but you'd never triple jumped at your own stadium?
Yeah, so my freshman year, we actually had SEC championships there, and I got hurt on my first long jump, and wasn't even able to qualify for the triple jump. So, yeah, that was a haunting experience. You know, that one really stuck with me, and I thought, you know what, I'm jinxed. I cannot jump here. I'll train here, but I'm not going to compete.
Really?
You know, and then like obviously Mouse, like the coaches weren't very happy with that because they were like, we're recruiting you to jump, especially at home. You know, but I said, guys, like, trust me, I'll show up when it counts. And to also be honest, where the jump pits used to be situated was right under the bleachers. And if you ask for a clap, you know, it's not that people wouldn't support you; they just couldn't see you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and because of this placement, I thought, I Will and I, we love to entertain. We love to really interact with the crowd, and we just didn't have that, you know. And so I was just like, you know what, I'm just gonna wait it out. Then we got a new track layout, and then we got put in the infield, and I thought, you know what, I can't ask for more. A blue and orange track. We're at center stage. I'll put on a show. And then yeah, then I get to jump against Keandre Bates and Lee Van Sands and just put on a show.
So what was that like to like getting ready for that to be like, I finally have my first triple jump at my home collegiate track?
I was very nervous. I will say that. I was more nervous than most competitions because now I have the pressure of like I'm home. Yeah, so it's like my friends, my family. Now people know me around the city, you know, and so they were like, you're actually gonna jump here? I gotta come and see this, you know." And then I thought, well, that means I actually have to do something. You know, you don't want to come and see me barely jump, you know. And so I really was tossing and turning the night before, and this was the Florida relays I have been, or the Tom Jones week that I've been the most nervous about, because I just thought there was just so much pressure on people expecting what is the Olympic champ going to do? You know, what is the national champion going to do? What is he actually going to do? Because we can see it. It's not we see this on a press release or something like, or YouTube. It's like we get to see this live, and I just did not want to disappoint.
So how did you feel once it was all over?
Oh my gosh. To be honest, once I got the first jump out of the way, I was okay. But I was just so, because I've never competed there, so I did not know like what the track was going to be like. I did not know what the wind was going to be like. I didn't know if the officials were going to be like, you're the guy, you know, like we expected this, you know. And so once I got that, and the officials were like, yeah, good job, you know. And the crowd was really into it. I was like, okay, calm down, relax, have fun, you know, and I could get back into my groove. But it was the first jump that was the mountaintop.
That's really cool. And that's totally understandable, but it's also like, it's cool to hear that someone of your caliber was still so nervous at just going back home.
Oh yeah, I go to Hayward Field. For me, Hayward Field felt more like home than at Florida. I've jumped at Hayward Field 10 times more than I've jumped, you know, at UF. You know, and so for me, it's like cool. I know the warm up. I know the rec fields. I know the indoor facility. Like you know, Eugene, I feel very comfortable because I've competed there. I've gone, but being in Gainesville, I was like, I've only trained here. You know, and so it was just like, oh gosh, you know, now it's. I just felt like I was really pushed to the fire.
Well, so now you'll have a whole new track to compete at in Eugene as well. Like, what are your expectations for that?
Oh my gosh. From what I've seen, it's beautiful. Like it's not even like another level. It's just like they hit it out the park. It is going to be a, just a beautiful moment to walk you know, into Hayward Field 2.0 or you know, whatever. But I I do take a lot of pride in competing at home, and I do take a lot of pride in competing there. You know, I've jumped 18 meters there, and that crowd has always been so good to me. And you know, I get a lot of love from students, from teachers. I mentor some kids in Portland. And so it's just, for me, it's going to be surreal to be back in the stadium, but to be in this new stadium, you know, I'm sure my mouth will drop.
Now, going back to 2019 real quick, another big thing that happened for you. So when you left Florida, you left early to go turn pro. So you
Correct.
had not
Yeah.
finished your degree yet. And that's something you talked about being very adamant on finishing. And you finished your degree in 2019. I mean, you're an Olympic champion, world champion, like top of the game. Why was finishing your college degree still so important to you?
Yeah. You know, again, I talked about finish a mission. When we were recruited, you know, the coaches said, "Yeah, yeah, guys, there's a mission. We have to get to nationals and we have to take care of business. You know, we want to get rings." And so that has just always been my thinking. If you're going to start something, finish it. You know, and I did my 3 years at Florida, and I mean, it would be such a shame not, like,
Mhm.
you 3/4 of the way done. Just finish it, you know. And so, of course, I took 2 Olympic Games, you know, to break, and really wanted to focus on that. Really wanted to make the most of it, and I'm thankful that it was worth it. You know, I
Mhm.
can walk away and say, well, at least I came away with hardware.
Yeah.
But for me, it was also to put that stamp. Like, I didn't feel like I was officially, and I know this sounds silly, but I feel like I was not officially a Gator. I couldn't do the Florida alumni stuff. I couldn't, you know, be entered into the Hall of Fame and things like this that meant so much to me, until I walked that stage. And so, yeah, to be 29 years old and, you know, sitting with for me it's kids, but, you know, people talking about they were born in 2004 and 2000, and I was just like, how? You know, like, I was born in 1990. Like, you know, you don't even know what the 90s were about. And so, this was a surreal moment. But you know, it for me, it was just completion. You know, I finished the mission. I took a lot of pride with that. And you know, to have my family there, to have my fiance there. My fiance's family came, you know, from Austria, and it was just surreal.
That's awesome. So, I mean, what's that like traveling the world to all of these different meets and competing and still taking classes and trying to finish a
Oh my
degree?
gosh. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Once you start competing, once you start traveling, the time zones, you know, like I
Mhm.
remember competing at the Doha Diamond League. Really, I jumped, I won. I went to the food court, got food, came up, took a shower, and I was doing, like, because you have, like, group activities, you know, group assignments. And because of the time difference, like, you know, I think 8 hours ahead of those in Gainesville, Florida. And, you know, they were like, hey, you know, how's your day been? And I was, well, I've had my day, I've competed, and now I'm doing this, you know, this group assignment with you, you know. And so sometimes it was very humbling, but sometimes you can imagine it's very draining. After a
Oh
track meet,
yeah.
you just want to go take a shower and just, like, put your feet up,
Mhm.
you know, not think about assignments and due dates and you know, projections and things like this. So that was very difficult. And I tell all those that are at that point that may have just turned pro last year and think, like, finish school, finish it. Like, especially now you have the time, please finish it. Because when you start competing, it is just, it's like this cloud that's just constantly over you. You know, like, you want to, I want to relish and really be in those moments. I was a world champion, you know, in 2019 in Doha. Like, I was a world champion, and then thinking, I still have to go back and finish classes. You know, it's like, sometimes you just want to party. Sometimes you just want to enjoy that moment. But it was like, guys, I can't. Like, I actually have an assignment due tomorrow, or, you know, and I cannot blow that off. You know, and so,
Absolutely.
it was a learning opportunity. But I said, you know, for where I fell short, I'm just gonna pass the baton and say, don't do like me. You know, do as I say, but not as I did. You know, and just pass that on.
That's awesome. So when we talk about traveling the world, and I mentioned the Diamond League earlier, which is the professional world circuit.
Yep.
One of the things that has happened recently with the Diamond League was they got rid of uh, a number of events, one of which being the triple jump.
Correct.
So first off, like, what was your reaction when you found out that they decided to do away with the triple jump?
Yeah, my initial reaction was hurt, you know, because I've always spoken so highly of the Diamond League. I've won the Diamond League 7 times, you know. So now myself and Renault Villeneuve were the I don't want to say the greatest winners, but we have the most wins of all time. You know, we were tied to leading those Diamond League trophies, and I thought next year is going to be, it's going to be the battle. Who's going to come out with number 8? The Diamond League has been so good to me, but I thought, how have we gotten to the point now that it's going to be removed? Like I took it personally. What did I do? What did I do to cause this? And yeah, to go down that tunnel, I mean, we probably be talking for the rest of the day. But I could just say I was hurt and I was sad. Even to this point, I'm still trying to understand that decision. But at the same point, there's a level of I just have to deal with it. The unique thing I can say again, so I don't go so deep into it, is it was a proposal for the 2020 season. And now that the 2020 season is, as we all know, is a bit different. The 2020 has hit us all differently. But with this, it's the hope, and I'm a big believer in hope that 2021 we go back to normal. We go back to normal format. Maybe even include the hammer. That's something I've been pushing for because the hammer has not been a part of the Diamond League format, and so it's just I want to include inclusion. I want to include every event, everyone, because that is the spirit of athletics. That is the spirit of track and field.
Now, when you said you were going for number 8, you said you were like, I don't want to say like one of the greatest of all time. You can be modest, but I'll say that you're one of the greatest people in Diamond League of all time. But
Thank you.
I mean, in the wake of that, you created the Athletics Association.
Correct.
Which really is to like advocate for pro track and field athletes, and not just in the U.S. but around the world.
Global.
So,
correct.
First of all, like, how long had you been working on trying to create something like that?
So from the beginning of another assignment I had for the beginning of 2019, when I was in school, I started hearing rumors about it. There were rumors of people saying the triple jump was going to be out of the 2020 Olympics, and I thought, well, that's next year. How is that going to happen? And then I found out that it was not the Olympics they were referring to; it was the Diamond League. So, and that is how rumors that someone hears something, yeah, and so it's he say she say, and so. Yeah, so when I heard the Olympics, I thought, well, surely, like, we need to get people to stand up and say, no, this is part of track and field. And yeah, you know how it is. You make a lot of friends when you're competing because it's a lot of people that can relate to your lifestyle. We're in hotels, we're playing video games, we're playing cards. Like, there's a lot of people doing the same thing. And so I just at a lot of the dinners, at a lot of press conferences and stuff, I would just ask my fellow athletes, hey, there's something that may go on. Would you stand with me? And everyone was like, of course, we got your back. We got your back. Then I heard it was the Diamond League. And, again, I said, guys, correction, not the Olympic Games. You still got me. Yeah, of course. We got your back. We got your back. So this was the conversations I was having. It was not formally an association. It was just people saying, Christian, we have your back if you want a voice because, we know what you bring to the sport and they know I would support them, if it was vice versa. And then I started having press conferences and they were saying, we've heard and it's been proposed that the triple jump and other events may be pulled out of next year's format. And for me, I just thought, how? How is it? Why are you telling me this in the midst of the season? But then how is this even possible? Why? What do you gain out of taking away disciplines? And then once the formal announcement came, in November, we got through the World Championships, we got through the season, and it kind of died down. And I thought, you know what, that's a rumor. But at least I know the people that have my back. In November, it became formal, the 200 meters of steeple, and I just thought, how can this go on? How did the agents allow this to happen? How did the meeting directors allow this to happen? And it was very frustrating. But again, I made these calls and I said, guys, I just need you to have my back. We need to make a change. And I'm going to propose that we just make a group and that just says, hey, we are champions, Olympic champions, world champions, Diamond League champions. And I thought the voice would carry stronger if World Athletics saw that, it was not the people not making the meets. It was not the people, not getting into the races, but it was the people that were actually in those circles saying, we're not happy and it's not fair what you're doing. And got a lot of traction immediately. And yeah, the heart of the association was born.
So what do you foresee like the goal, or what's the goal for the association eventually, or like to kind of create?
So we obviously there's several goals, but the aim is to be at the table, to be a part of the decision-making process. So we don't have to rely, athletes don't have to rely on rumors, but we're in this circle that when things are being proposed, when, we can give perspective, we can help with the growth of our sport. And not only just be able to voice something, but to have influence. I want to empower my fellow athletes. That's what it comes down to. Your voice matters, and that's something we try to stress. We are the sport, and your voice matters. And so not only to sit around the table and say, I'm not happy with this, or we need to do this, but something doesn't go through unless the athletes say, yes, this is a good partner to work with. This is the way the timetable should be, and just getting athletes more involved and just empowering their voices.
So, and you were talking about how it's not just the people who were kind of cut from the Diamond League.
Correct.
So to put it that way, but it's really everyone. And so, like to kind of speak to that, I mean, it's not just United States. It's people all around the world in all events, and it's
Absolutely.
people even who aren't competing anymore. Like earlier in the season, I had Ashton Eaton on the show, and he was talking about being involved in that. I mean, there's Omar McLeod's involved, Sandra Perkovic is involved, a discus thrower. And when you were talking earlier about Renaud Lavillenie, and he is also the president of the Athletes Commission
Correct.
which has a voice at the World Council, which kind of helps makes those decisions. So what kind of effect have you guys already been able to have, having kind of that direct line that's involved in the association as well as in those meetings?
Yeah. So to answer your question, I mean, because a big part of our initial battle was figuring out what the Athletes Commission does. Because the thing is, what we don't want to do and how we never want to come over is that we're trying to step on anyone's toes. And so we went to them and said, hey, respectively, we want to remain and are an independent body, and they fall under the World Athletics umbrella. So, whether if you understand that you don't want to bite the hand you feed, so you cannot really go against the people you were under, and so we just said we want to reflect and we want to just have an unbiased, unfiltered voice of the athletes. That is essentially who we are. And what we want to do is to be able to present that to World Athletics and allow them to do what they want. So when we were speaking about the postponement of the Olympic Games, when we were, and this got over 4,000 people, participating in a small period. When we got to speak about if the 2020 season should go on, this enabled World Athletics. We want to take out the assumption. There's so many people that are constantly speaking for what's best for the athletes or what the athletes want, and we're like, why don't you just ask? Just like, we would love to tell you what we're going through, but no one asked us, and so this is what we want to do. This is I mean, it sounds so silly and sounds so simple, but it's not been a factor, and so we want to say, guys, if the meeting starts at 9 p.m., how do you guys feel about that? Let's go to the athletes and say, how do you feel about this? Let's go to the biomecs and say, what are performances like at 9 p.m. and give you solid numbers to go back and say, guys, we have 2,000 athletes around the world saying they are or they're not comfortable competing at 9 p.m. Now you guys decide what to do with it. But we just take out the assumption, stop speaking for us and just allow us to speak.
Mm-hmm. So what's been kind of the, not necessarily within the athletes, but outside that, what's kind of been the reaction to it so far?
Nothing but positive feedback, really, because again, we understand the stakeholders in our sport, and we understand the importance of what the audience, what our fans bring to the sport. Who is asking the audience, how do you like the presentation? How are you actually viewing athletics? Is it on TV? Are you in the stadium? And how can we work together to make that easier for you? I was very upset about being in Doha this past World Championships and having to do a VPN changer to stream BBC from London. But it's because the rights of the TV rights of the World Championships were sold, to a rival country, and because of the political issues, we weren't even allowed to watch our teammates compete
Wow.
down the street. And so for me, it would be if we were at the table when we're having discussions of who to partner with, who
Mhm.
to sell the rights to. Well, selling it to somebody that there's political uh, fallout with may not be, just because they've got the money, it may not be the best effort in growing the sport.
Mhm.
And so it's just things like this that we like to bring to the table, and just use the athlete's voice for stuff like that.
Now, with COVID kind of putting essentially like throwing the 2020 season out of whack basically, and no one's traveling right now, no one's competing, everyone's at home, so everyone has a little bit more time or at least availability to
Correct.
to, to kind of talk and be on these calls. How has that affected you being able to talk with people in the association and even people on the World Council and stuff like that?
Oh, it's been fantastic. I mean, just to be really honest, we're I would say maybe 2, maximum 3 weeks away from formalizing and doing our big launch. Because as of now, we're not officially registered and have
Mhm.
that position. But I want to stress. I don't even have to say we, but I want to stress that this is not an interest group. This is not a we have a big flame and then dwindle out. This is something that myself and many of my colleagues are extremely passionate about, and we want to keep this going. We want to pass the baton to the next generation. So this and I have to be careful with my wording because the pandemic has not been a blessing, but this extra time that
Mhm.
I've gotten from the pandemic has allowed us to just get a lot of things in place, and to have greater talks. Before this year, okay, before November 2019, because this is when I put out on social media that
Mhm.
something needs to change. I had not spoken to Seb, to the president Sebco. I was not
Mhm.
having meetings with council members and giving input to anybody. No one was asking. I was speaking to my teammates. I've lived in the UK. I've lived in the Netherlands. I've lived in Austria. I've lived in Florida. Never have I had these conversations. And once I said enough is enough, we need to do something. Now I'm having conversations weekly. And so it, there has been the silver lining. Again, I'm trying to be very sensitive of what's happening at this time, and
Absolutely.
of course the lives that have been lost, in this pandemic. But this added time has, we've really maximized that, and turned it into a positive.
When you look long term at what you hope this is, like obviously you guys have started the conversations, you've got that communication line open. What is your hope for this association long term?
Yeah. Again, I talk about passing the baton a lot. We
Mhm.
want to be sure that this is not something that just sticks during my time, but something that the next leader will come and say, hey, we are ready to keep this going. We want to continue to empower. And to be really honest, the core of this is to empower athletes, empower human beings. Your voice matters. That is essentially the core of all of this. uh, we want to empower athletes and let them know you are the sport. There's like, if an athlete does not get into the blocks, if an athlete does not get into the ring, there's nothing.
Mhm.
No one shows up. Nothing. And this is not to discredit the officials. This is not to discredit the people that make a meet go on. But to be to be honest, when you think about it, all this is for the athletes.
Absolutely.
And the athletes are the last ones at the table. The athletes are the last ones to be in the circle of change. And our aim is to just pass that down. Your voice matters. You matter. We are the sport. That is our statement. We are the sport, and know that.
Absolutely. And so earlier when we were talking about COVID, and obviously that's kind of pushed everything back, obviously including the Olympics. What how has that affected your training in this time?
Oh my gosh, yeah. I'm still still not on a track, or still not in a sand pit. I have not jumped into a sand pit for over 2.5 months now. And so that is my living, bounding and jumping into sand and having that removed. That's uh, it's just flipped completely. I've been very grateful to get the support from USA Track and Field, USA, Track Foundation. There have been several funds and different efforts to help with equipment, getting gym equipment and things like this. But the reality as a track athlete, if you don't have a track, if you don't have the hurdles, it's going to be very difficult to say, I'm ready to compete. So I know that things will slowly get lifted, and each state is very different. And again, we're all doing the best we can during this time. But yeah, life has just been flipped upside down right now.
So eventually we will get to the Olympic trials. We will start
Correct.
going that way. I mean, you've been to so many world championships, Olympics, Olympic trials, like you've been there, you've done it. What is your mindset going into yet another Olympic trials?
As if it's my first. Again, I don't do a lot of the reflection. I don't, and this is not to get wrong. Of course, when I finished Doha World Championship, I thought I could have broken the world record. Where did I go wrong? So it's not that I'm not trying to to be stupid and say that I don't look back and think what can I improve on and think. But the thing is, I just don't try to hold on to these things because I believe that those moments will hold me back. If I'm not gauging on the next adventure, if I'm not gauging on the next opportunity, I feel like that would hold me back. And so when I get to the Olympic trials, it's just going to be this is the most important one. Making the 2012 team, being an Olympic champ in 2016, it does nothing for me. If I come fourth, I don't go to Tokyo. And so that is what drives me. That is what keeps me on my A game at the final. It is doing what I need to do to qualify, because we have 2 days, making sure I take care of the qualification day and putting myself in the position to be top 3. To be honest, I don't care if I come third at the trials. It's just putting myself in the position
Mhm.
to get to the Olympics and take care of business then.
Now, I saw a quote from you saying how competing is 90% mental. So
Mhm.
for you, how do you train your mind to be in that right mindset when it's time to step up and go put on a show?
Yeah, I train at that level every day, and so I think Michael Jordan said, if you practice the same way you play, like you compete, then when you compete, it's no different than practice. So it's just having that mindset and teaching that muscle memory. Just training at that high level daily, pushing myself, visualizing being in a championship. There are many times my coach and I, when we're jumping, he puts a cone there and says, well, guess what? Pichardo just out jumped you. How do you respond? Teddy just out jumped you. How do you respond? Will Clay just out jumped you. How do you? And so when these things happen in a meet, it's nothing for me,
Mhm.
because you guys have been beating me. Essentially, you guys have been beating me every single day at training. I
Mhm.
can run a time, and he said, hey, Marquise Dindy just ran faster than you. How do you respond? And so it's just putting yourself in that scenario day after day after day. So when you're there, it's no different. I don't panic because I've trained for that.
Now, switching gears a little bit, one thing that I've always noticed and I've always thought is fun to watch for long jumpers and triple jumpers is that so many long jumpers and triple jumpers have very different ways they start. Like I saw a video I think on Twitter recently, and it was a
Yeah,
guy doing
yeah.
all the different starts of jumpers. What's your like go-to way that you like to start to get into your jump?
To be honest, there is a routine that comes with it, but everyone's for sure got their own style, before they start. But to be honest, every jump is very different. Uh, to be to be really honest, sometimes I just get so much adrenaline and so hyped that I start with the wrong leg, or my walk in is wrong because I'm just so ready to go. But we also have the check marks on the track, so you can really make that adjustment quite quickly. But there is also the muscle memory. There is also the routine that you practice all year to lock in. I do like to kind of stand there, visualize, think of what I'm going to do and how I'm going to execute it. And then just do a nice little walk in and go. I really in college I like to stand there and then just go. But then I don't know, it looks cooler to walk in, and so how much practicality and how much people just do stuff for swag and stuff. Yeah, I think every athlete can say it's a bit different. You just got to find that balance. But for me, it's just now about comfort. Yeah, I found a group that I'm comfortable with, and it's not too intimidating. But I think yeah, I can work with it.
Absolutely. So, I mean, when we're talking about like the style, now I've always thought that two of the most like stylish events are the jumpers, the horizontal jumpers, and the short
Yep.
sprinters. What event do you think has like the most style of everybody?
Oh, for sure, the jumpers. Because you gotta like. To be honest, we just have a clock, like you just have an official saying you have 1 minute to do whatever you want. And for starters, it's like, yeah, there is an intro and you can do your wave and when they say on your mark, some people, kneel down, some people jump up, but it's like that's it, and I just feel like the field eventers, we just have a lot more fun with it. I think we take it a little less serious because we also know we get multiple chances,
True.
and so for a sprinter, it's like I need to do like that kind of gets me in the zone. But the jumpers, we can be like, well, I'm just gonna do something and just check that one off. So I think we definitely have a lot more swag.
I've always thought that of all the field events, the horizontal jumpers are the ones that love to start the clap the most, like hands
Oh yeah,
down.
for sure. Yeah, and it's
So,
and it's very annoying. I mean, Gatlin, I've had a lot of athletes been like, dude, I was in the blocks and I had to stand up because you guys were getting so much noise, and so I'm not gonna lie. There are times that the meet directors, like they'll say quiet at the start, and I think this is the time to do it because now everyone is watching. And I would say, especially at Hayward Field, it's wonderful because we have the home stand right at the home 100 meter stretch. So like when they get the 100 meters, I'm always like, yep, this is the time to do it. And then they put the cone there to stop us because they see what we're doing. But you got to capitalize on those moments.
that's very fair. That's very fair. So, I mean, when you're outside of the jumps, when you're watching the field events, like, what is your favorite field event to watch?
Javelin, javelin,
Javelin.
for sure. Yeah, this is like my inner spirit, my inner. I wish I could be a javelin thrower. But I love it. I love to see people just put it all out there and try not to foul. And just to see a javelin stick. I even like the little sound of it. I just love to see. Yeah, just I mean, people just watching it fly. Like when they hit one and they know it, and just watching the javelin fly. That's just so exciting for me.
Now, have you? Because I've seen, especially at Hayward, it's more so the pole vaulters than the jumpers who are in danger. Because I've seen some pole vaulters almost
Yeah.
get speared a few times. Have you ever had any close encounters?
No. Because the thing is, I love track meets, so I'm always watching the track meet. So
Smart.
I mean, my coach has been hit with a discus when he was out there with me. But the thing is, I'm always watching what's going on. So yeah, for me, the risk is very low because if the discus guys are throwing, like I'm like, all right, my eyes over there. The javelin girls, it's like, no, you're not gonna get me. Like I'm Mr. Paranoid anyway. So yeah, no, I always stay sharp.
Now, I mean, you've been jumping since a very young age. Like, how did you initially get into jumping?
Just trial and error, to be honest. I originally started with cross country
Really?
because I was trying to stay in shape for soccer and just found out that it was not for me. I would sprint to get to the woods and then I would be like tapped out. Like I would be like, that's it. And then at the end, I would sprint and just try to like catch a few people. But distance, yeah, I figured out that was really not for me. And then, like I said, just trial and error. Like I tried the 100 and I was just not as quick. Like I didn't have as much fast twitch as the other guys. And to be really honest, I got to the triple jump and I was one of the only ones in my class that can make it into the sand. And that was it. It was like, okay, this was a point where I could shine and get some points for the team. And yeah, I just fell in love with it.
My favorite stories that I've heard while doing these interviews of when talking about when people getting into the events, how so many of them always end up with, well, I just kept beating everyone, so I figured I'd
Yeah.
stick with this.
But that's life, right? Like it's like if the shoe fits, why not? Why would I do anything else?
Absolutely. No, I mean, it totally makes sense. Now, I mean,
Yep.
track and field has taken you all around the world. And in 2013, I believe it was, your coach, Raina Ryder, went to England to start coaching, and you went with him to England to start coaching.
Correct.
What was that transition like to move all the way to England and start training over there?
That was a really difficult period for me. I don't want to say a dark time, but I did struggle. I was in Daytona Beach and 2 hours away from Gainesville. So I was out of the college distractions, out of the college realm, but I still had my friends. I could always every weekend I could go back to Gainesville. So that was perfect for me. Daytona Beach, I had again good friends. I'm living on the beach. like I just had like such good balance, and then he got this job opportunity, and it's not even like we moved to London, like we moved 2 hours north of London to really the middle of nowhere. And I just struggled, like I knew I wasn't going to be able to drive. They drive on the other side, the steering wheel's on the other side. I was just like, well, there goes the driving. And then, yeah, to be honest, the weather, like
Mhm.
and it's not the cold. It's not the rain. It's just like the constant gray. It's just like, where is the freaking sun? I never had to take vitamin D in my life until I was there. Like when you're in Florida, it's just every day you're complaining it's too hot.
Mhm.
Oh dang, I should have put more sunscreen on. And there, it's like if you get sun, you were just celebrating. And so that was just really difficult, and that was the first time I felt the effects of lack of sun. And that's a real thing. It's tough, and my energy was just sucked out. And so I had really good friends, and we did have good fun and good food. And London was, I mean, London is a really cool city. But again, that was just a trip away. And so, yeah, that was difficult for me, to be so far away from home and then just not have that sun, because I lost that outdoor living.
Yeah, not having that sun is a real thing. I learned that in Eugene very quickly. That is for sure. How long did that really take you to kind of get adjusted to life over in Europe?
Well, Europe was different. So once I moved to the Netherlands, once I moved to Holland, it was completely different. We had a lot more sun.
Mhm.
Food was different. They have, yeah, like a lot of guys from Curacao that I related to, and my lifestyle was different. I could drive again. I would skate, like longboarding a bit more. So Europe is like, I really adjusted to Europe, but I would say in the UK, I mean, I struggled, and we were there for, I would say, maybe 2.5 years, and I just don't ever feel like I found peace, or I was ever grounded there.
Off the track, and you mentioned earlier some of the stuff you've done in the community. One of the things that you do is you work with a group called Classroom Champions. Can you tell me a
Correct.
little bit more about what that is and why that was something that was kind of so important to you?
Yeah, it was actually founded by a fellow Gator, fellow, University of Florida grad, and he decided to bring Olympians to the classrooms, and we all grew up having um, meetings and having people at a younger age come and speak, to your classes, and bring your parents to work. Like you have all these experiences, but it's like,
Mhm.
does that really stick? And you know, Steve, his name is, he decided to just take it one step further and say, we're going to bring Olympians to the classroom, and to build relationships. We're going to do the year with you. We're going to do multiple years with you, and just try to instill some good stuff. And for me, that really clicked, because I got to the top of the podium in 2012, and really thought, this is it. This is what I've worked my whole life for. What am I giving back to society? What am I giving back to the sport?
Mhm.
And he challenged me and said, hey, come and see if you can make a difference and impact in these kids' lives. And for me, it's stuck from that point. 2013, I got involved, and now I'm even, a board member. But it's just, it's completely, um, consumed me in the best way. Like it gave me purpose. It gave me added motivation. I
Mhm.
know I don't just compete for my school. I know I don't just compete for my nation, but it's like I can name kids in the classroom that are cheering for me and have made posters for me, and that just makes it that much more.
So outside of that, like what are some of your interests outside of the track and field world?
Yeah, just and I don't know if you've heard, but just being able to pass down something greater than what I had,
Mhm.
pass down great opportunities. So unfortunately, the World Youth Championships have been taken out, from athletics. If it was not for World Youth Games, I won as a 17-year-old. That was the breaking point for me. That was a point where it was
Mhm.
like, okay, maybe I could be something in the sport. Now kids don't have that opportunity. They have to wait, an additional year. Well, if I had to wait my World Juniors was a horrible meet. I barely made it to the final, and so this isn't everyone's story, but it's like, if you take the opportunity away, you know, could you have erased my career? You know, and so I'm very passionate about just giving more to the next generation and putting them in a better situation. And so whether it's with the Athletics Association, whether it's, you know, doing things with the IO and doing just things specifically into the youth games, just giving more opportunities to the next generation.
And when you talk about kind of some of these interests off the track, and you were talking about earlier how like you started at a young age and you've had such an amazing career. How much longer do you see yourself jumping for before you decided to kind of transition into that next phase?
I would say, I mean, yeah, in a perfect world, I would love to go through 2028
Mm-hmm.
LA games, you know, back at home. How realistic that is, I'm not sure, you know, but that is the goal, to stay healthy and to be honest, to be motivated, because I don't want to just go there to go. You know, it's
Mhm.
like I want to go there to compete, to fight, to represent. You know, I don't want to get there and then like screw it up and they're gonna be like, well, waited for this, you know. And so if I'm gonna go there and represent, like I want to do it to the best of my ability. But realistically, I think, you know, 2024, I'll be 34 and Paris and you know, the thing I always say is I want to go out on top. You know, I don't want to be just fighting for a check. I want to go out, you know, with everyone questioning, could he have done another one?
Mm-hmm.
Not why is he still competing?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And lastly, because I know you're a busy man, so you have other things to do.
Yep.
But one last question, and we've mentioned you're only 8 centimeters off of the world record. Like you're right there. What do you think it will take for you to break that barrier and to break that world record?
Just time. You know, it's not been the preparation. It's not been the wind. It's not been, you know, it's for me, it's just waiting for that moment. And sometimes, to be honest, I've been in the best shape of my life and just tried too hard. You know, like I've ruined it. I've just chased it so much. And so for me, it's just putting myself in the position that when the stars line up, when the competition is that, you know, I always pictured it would be in one place at you know, at Olympic Games, at a World Championship, at my favorite meet, you know. But I thought you cannot do that. It's a world record. You're trying to achieve something and go someplace you've never been. So how can I plan that out, you know? And so for me, it's now just being patient and waiting, you know, doing my part, to put myself in the position and just waiting for it to happen.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, thank you for joining the show, Christian. I really appreciate it. And I cannot wait to see what goes on in 2021, what happens with the Athletics Association, everything that's going on. Very excited for that. So thanks for joining the show.
So much, TJ. Yeah, it's been a real pleasure, and yeah, please stay safe in this time.
You as well. You as well. And thank you everyone for watching. Thank you everyone for listening. If you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel or the podcast, be sure to do that so you don't miss any more of these amazing episodes. And also follow the Instagram at beyond_the uniform. And don't forget, every athlete has a story. You just have to listen. I'll see you next time. This was Beyond the Uniform with TJ Brassil. Join me again next week when the NCAA record holder in the women's 200 meters, Kyra Jefferson, joins the show.